Elliot, got you thinking about the top 5 Super Bowl pass rush duos in history.
Yeah.
Take us through 5 through 1.
Yeah, you mentioned DeMarcus Ware and Von Miller. We keep talking about them for good reason. And going into Super Bowl 43, a lot of people, Aaron, were talking about James Harrison and LaMarr Woodley. LaMarr Woodley, double digits in sacks. James Harrison, best defensive player in football in 2008. And in the Super Bowl, they made their mark against the Cardinals. Now, was it pass rushing? Not as much as James Harrison having a 100-yard return in this game. But you talk about the Broncos, Aaron, and what they do. They're 3-4. You got Ware on one side, Miller on the other. The Steelers are very similar. 3-4. You had Harrison on one side, Woodley on the other. People like to say, pick your poison. And there's our own Kurt Warner taking a few shots in that game. He took several. But again, the big play from this duo was James Harrison, 100-yard return right at the end of the first half.
I like it. How about Super Bowl 9? You had Mean Joe Green, of course.
Yeah.
And that duo right there, that's pretty tough.
You bet. Well, you know, a lot of Steelers so far, but Super Bowl 9 featured L.C. Greenwood and Mean Joe Green. Mean Joe Green was Defensive Player of the Year at defensive tackle. L.C. Greenwood, he looks like a safety now, but let me tell you, this guy was fierce, number 68 with the gold shoes, and these guys were fantastic. As I mentioned, Mean Joe Green, best defensive player in football in 1974. L.C. Greenwood, he may look slim, man, but let me tell you, he could get around that tackle, and in this game, he swatted 3 passes at the line of scrimmage, and that's a stat we don't think about a lot, but pass deflections at the line is really important. It certainly can break a quarterback's rhythm and confidence. L.C. Greenwood was able to do that against Fran Tarkenton in this game, and they won 16-6.
Yep.
And they held the NFC champions to 6 points. Good luck doing that to Carolina.
Speaking of history, number 3 is definitely on a lot of people's lists.
I like this one right here. I've got it written down. It says Lawrence Taylor and Leonard Marshall.
Gotta love LT.
Lawrence Taylor was the last defensive player to win MVP, overall MVP, not just Defensive Player of the Year.
Right.
He did that in 1986. He had 20.5 sacks. Leonard Marshall was also in double digits in sacks that year. These two guys were fierce. They ran a 3-4 as well, just like Denver does. Leonard Marshall was able to get to the quarterback, but when he wasn't, Lawrence Taylor was just cleaning up.
Oof.
Now, Lawrence Taylor did not have a gangbuster Super Bowl in this game, but the Giants' defensive unit did.
Right.
And part of that is because every play, Lawrence Taylor was occupying the tackle and the tight end, freeing up his teammates to make big plays.
Not fun to take a hit from that guy, for sure. Number 2, Bears fans are going to like this one.
Yeah, well, this was a tricky one. So you see the guy there at number 95. That's Richard Dent. Richard Dent was amazing in 1985, 17 sacks. I could have picked any teammate because the Bears had so many good pass rushers, but I went with Dan Hampton. The reason why is because Dan Hampton was a lot like the recently retired Justin Tuck, in case you didn't hear that news. He could play inside or he could play outside. Dan Hampton, they could line him up right on the guard, or they could put him at your classic defensive end position. And these two guys were just unstoppable. So was that guy right there, Mongo, Steve McMichael. But Richard Dent, MVP of Super Bowl 20. It's not often, Aaron, that you get a defensive end winning MVP of the Super Bowl.
Right, and this is very interesting because this is the first time in history co-MVPs. They share the MVP title.
Yep.
Tell us who number 1 is on your list.
Number 1 pass rushing duo of all time has to be Harvey Martin, Randy White, Super Bowl 12. Dallas Cowboys. Randy White had been a linebacker. That's number 54 right there. He had been a linebacker his first 2 years. They moved him to defensive tackle in 1977. His career took off. 9 straight Pro Bowls from that moment on. That's him right there, number 54. They were all over Craig Morton, Norris Weiss in this game. The Broncos could not do anything offensively. They lost this game big, 27-10. Craig Morton just trying to get rid of the football right there. Harvey Martin, 20 sacks, although it was an unofficial stat in 1977. The NFL did not make sacks official, Aaron, until 1982.
Right.
A little harder to track the older guys, but these two guys were co-MVPs of the Super Bowl. I think DeMarcus Ware and Von Miller would take that in Super Bowl 50.
Well, you know what? That's interesting because we polled the nation. We asked, will they have a top 5 performance? We asked the nation, take a look right here. DeMarcus Ware, Von Miller, they're putting up a top 5 performance according to the nation. 54%, 46% saying no. What do you think?
I think that's fair. I mean, if you saw what they did in the AFC Championship game, I mean, Von Miller, a couple of those plays was just flat out unblockable. And I believe DeMarcus Ware had 7 pressures in that game by himself.
Yeah.
By himself. It's not always about the sacks.
Sure.
You just get your hands on the quarterback, disrupt him. As I talked about with L.C. Greenwood in Super Bowl 9, batting the ball at the line, all of those things are important and could give them a big, fat W.
It's going to be interesting because Cam Newton good against the blitz, and he doesn't get hit very often. So
That's
this
right.
is a matchup to watch. Elliot Harrison, always interesting. Very good stuff. Bye.